ombudsman in this country? Is there even an ombudsman? So when you sit back and you say we have a democratic society, look for these things. What are the elements of a democratic society? Are they existing in this country? Yes, we might find them by paper. We might find them on paper, we might find them by name. Are they functional? Oh yes, we have people appointed. Are those people functional? Oh yes, they're working, but are they doing the will of the people? You see, you have to learn to interrogate these things. As y'all like say, we big but we ain't stupid, but some of us big and stupid. To think that the masses are stupid. Right? Let's talk the thing, man. Integrity Commission. You're supposed to go to be able to go to the Integrity Commission and say, listen, I observe the head of major crimes, Mitchell Caesar, driving an Audi. An Audi, what do I say? The market price for an Audi is $12 million Guyana dollars. I don't know, I'm just assuming the price. It's $12 million Guyana dollars. And from my understanding, this man is drawing $400,000, $500,000 per month. I do not believe that with this current rate of pay, he can afford to buy an Audi. Integrity Commission should launch an investigation to determine whether or not
never Joe, never Joe. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you can even money, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. You can keep, you can even money. When you've been a corrupt in a been there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. Then you had your pocket full, in a bit there'll be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note. Never Joe, never Joe, never Joe. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you can even money, money, never money, never money, money. You can even money. When you've been a corrupt in a bit there'll be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. Then you had your pocket full, in a bit there'll be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you can even money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I know what you can even money. Oh, Joseph.
She Kissed by the warm breezes of the Caribbean, this orange beauty has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large modern kitchen, and a living room with an open concept. This lovely home is within walking distance to the sea, where you can take a dip in the salt waters and feel refreshed. Verone's cheerful country manor, located at Tushin, West Coast Demerara. Bookings are available on Airbnb. Contact Veronica at 516-524-1559 for more details. We hope to see you soon.
absent for a little while, but, welcome home, welcome home. Y'all behaving like the prodigal children. Michael Keys. Now, I don't know Michael Keys. It's the first time. Michael is certainly a first-time viewer, or maybe he's 30. So, present yourself at the Buxton line top on the Buxton gas station.
Kissed by the warm breezes of the Caribbean, this orange beauty has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large modern kitchen, and a living room with an open concept. This lovely home is within walking distance to the sea, where you can take a dip in the salt waters and feel refreshed. Verone's cheerful country manor, located at Tushin, West Coast, Demerara. Bookings are available on Airbnb. Contact Veronica at 516-524-1559 for more details. We hope to see you soon.
Good morning. Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. It is now 7 hours 15 on the 15th day of September in the year 2022. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Yes, tune in. It's not Free Talk Friday, but it's Thursday. It's terrific Thursday. Kelly Ford, your good-looking self, as long as I see a girl. What's going on? What's happening? Like you're going to go for inbox me something, man. Because I ain't seeing, I kind of forgetting what you look like. You know? Inbox me something. Ashanti Smith, welcome to the program. It's the first time I'm seeing Ashanti Smith on the program. I know that for a fact. I know my Kams family, Right? Adeli Mengo, welcome back. I haven't seen you a long time. And where's Linda Webster? Good morning, Linda. Welcome. Annette Nichols, you've been absent for a little while, but, welcome home, welcome home. Y'all behaving like the prodigal children. Michael Keys. Now, I don't know Michael Keys. It's the first time. Michael is certainly a first-time viewer, or maybe he's now coming out of the woodwork, emboldened. Maybe his emotions have overcome him, so he decided, hey, I gotta say this thing, say something. This thing is overbearing. Welcome, Michael Keys. But Michael has drawn to my attention something that I need to tell you. Right? Good morning, Kellyanne. You see, Buxtonian Morning Time and Kams TV as a whole is a source of education, and not only for adults. We have children who view this program. Minors. Don't say children. Minors. They're minors who view this program. And so I want to caution you. Don't come here and cuss up, man. Y'all don't do it. I see Michael Keys licking out some kulibai, some F and S and so. Michael, please don't do it. You're asking you kindly, right? Good. Please don't do it. Anybody I find cursing on my live, using indecent language, that is, I'm going to remove your comment. And when I'm tired of removing your comment, I'm going to block you. I don't care if it is supportive of my position or supportive of our position. Just don't cuss. You don't have to be a trenchy. You don't have to go down to the gutters to make your point. Strong language, yes, but don't come using industrial language here. People's children view these programs. Okay? People's children view these programs. Don't cuss up, man. Y'all don't do that. I'm begging y'all. Right? So your sergeant, welcome down. Kwame King. I haven't heard his name, so this obviously might be a new one. Right? Kwame King. But let me tell you something more. Anybody could be anybody on social media, If you want to be a pig, you could be a pig. Anybody could be anybody on social media. You only got to change your name and find a fancy, what they call it? DP, display photo, right? So, Doreen Etwaru. I don't know Doreen. This morning, they got a lot of folks out. I don't know if they're trenchies but the words of your mouth will define you. People also say it defiles you, right? But we are going to find out who is who this morning. There are lots of things I want us to talk about. Lots of things. Where do I begin? Let me tell you that Lou's B&B is still in operation. I've had inquiries. about whether or not Luz B&B is still in operation. Yes, Luz B&B is still in operation. You can get a night stay for just about $30 US, which is $6,000. Yeah, $6,000 a night, $30 US a night. That's more than cheap, right? 24-hour stay for $30 US. Where do you get that? Only at Luz B&B, right? You know that? Yes, only at Luz B&B you can get that. So those of you who are in the area, you know, sometimes you travel from one district to Georgetown to conduct business and you have to overnight and so on, and you're looking for some place to go to spend the night. You don't have to stay in the hustle and bustle of Georgetown. You can come to Buxton and book in at Luz B&B and you are assured a quiet night. Also, if you were thinking, well, you know, I am a person who like to have my drinks and so on, my little relaxation before I go to bed, before I tuck in for the night, then the Twilight Bar is right there too, so you can go to the Twilight, relax. It is CPL season, so you can watch your CPL cricket at your leisure. The bar is right there. You can enjoy the refreshments, you know, beverages and so on. And then you can just turn into Luz B&B and have a relaxing night. Good? Right, so those of you, if anybody wants more information on Luz B&B, you can check me out. Well, not check me out. You can hit me up on WhatsApp. And you know, normally, I'm your guy. You're going to get linked. Right? Good. Today is International Day of Democracy. You know, in life, or in this world as a whole, in this society, we got a day for everything. International Day of the Children, International Day of Women, International Day of Peace, International Day of this and that, International Decade for People of African Descent. And we got so many international days. Why do we have to have specific days dedicated to specific things? Because mankind is brutish. Mankind is selfish. Right? Every day should be democracy. Every day should be Democracy Day. But do governments practice democracy every day? In fact, the entire world is not governed by democratic principles or democratic governments. Just they got dictatorships around the place. You still have apartheid around the place. And so the United Nations and all of these big brothers and sisters have to, at some point in time, come out and say, listen, y'all need to focus on democracy today. So we can have democratic countries and governments for today. They will all go to big gatherings and they will speak. They will wax lyrical. Right? They will wax lyrical about democracy. Yes, Pauline, listen, once you book, just say what your preferences are, what you would like, and that can be arranged. That can be arranged. Right? Yes. So let's focus on democracy today. But after International Day of Democracy is finished today, 24 hours, you can go back to your apartheid ways. You can go back to your discriminatory ways. Right? After International Day of Peace is finished, you can go back to war. Go war, man. Fight, kill, murder, bloodshed. Abuse women and children after International Day Against Domestic Violence. Why is it necessary that we have to have these days designated? Why as humans, why as mankind, we can't just live conscientiously? Follow the good book. The good book says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or the other aspect said what? In as much as you do for the poor, Something to that extent. You do for me. Why don't you follow those principles? Why don't we all follow those principles? And so we have a world full of peace and love and tranquility and consideration for each other. But a good book also tells us, right? Above everything else, the heart of man. Desperately wicked. I'm preaching this morning. Yeah. Sometimes I have to go there, you know. I have a particular friend when I quote from the good book. You quoting the Bible to me? Are you quoting the Bible, Mr. Amsterdam? Yes. I was brought up around the Bible. I was a good Anglican brother. Yeah, I was serving all kinds of things in the Anglican church, you know. But anyhow, we ain't talking religion. We're talking this brutish world of ours. Democracy. When you talk about democracy, what really and truly are we talking about? You know, before I really, I'm mixing it up this morning, honestly. Right? A lot of those who come here many mornings and cuss us out, a lot of the trenchies that defend this apartheid government, they get their Bhagavad Gita in the morning and they read their scriptures and they do their devotions in whatever way, shape, or form their religion prescribed. And they think that they are closer to God. Right? And those who are of the Muslim religion, they will read their Quran and they will quote their scriptures and they will do their morning prayers and Friday prayers and whatever else, and they feel that they're closer to God, they're doing the right thing. Likewise, the Christians will turn to their Bible and so on. But when they're finished with this devotion and so on, observe them by their fruits, they are known. Observe them, how do they treat their fellow being? You have a government in this country that is led by a Muslim. A man who is supposed to be, I don't know if you call it a devotee, a follower, a disciple, of the Muslim way, the Muslim religion, the teachings of Islam. And Islam is projected as a religion of love for humanity. But you have a government that is not reflective of that love for humanity. And so if you had a government that is not reflective of your religious groundings and teachings and so on, and what you believe in as an individual, then we have to question your sincerity. We have to question whether or not you are truly a devotee, a follower, whatever, whether or not the teachings really mean anything to you. So when you look at the Ali-led government, and you have, I'm asking y'all could teach me this morning, what does the Quran say about corruption by high officials? Corruption in general, graft, avarice, greed, covetousness. What does the Quran say about that? What does it say about dislike, hatred for humanity? What does it say about unfairness? What does the Quran say? And because there are also Hindus and Christians in that government, you ask yourself the same question. What does the Bhagavad Gita say about those things? And what does the Bible say about those things? We have a man who calls himself Bishop. Bishop is like unto high priest in the Christian religion. Right? Next to Luther, Luther said, leave the Quran out of it. Why should I? Why should I? I like Martial too. I like when y'all, you know, they say when you got pigs in a sty and you built a brick, the one will holler again now. Good? The one will holler again now. There's a man who calls himself Bishop Wanajil in this government. He heads the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Ministry of Works, whatever they call it these days. Right? As a bishop, as a preacher, as a whatever, as a devotee, as a religious leader in the Christian religion, the Bible tells him to love your neighbor as yourself. Do you see that love coming out of that ministry? Do you see equality, equity? Do you see fairness in terms of development to communities? This is a man who is supposed to say to his president, because of my religious beliefs, because of my teachings, or my learnings, I cannot afford to treat mankind in a certain way. Right? But when you look at a bishop, a man who is going to stand in the National Assembly and say, if I give the list of roads that this supplementary budget is going to be funding, it will cause social upheaval, or it will disrupt the social cohesion of the society. He's saying that he knowingly is being discriminatory. What does your teaching tell you as a good Christian? When a man like the fat guy goes into Mocha and tells the residents, we are not going to deal with your representatives, we are not going to deal with your leaders, we are not going to deal with the people you elected to serve you, and vice versa, tells the elected officials, we are not going to have anything to do with you, we will deal with the people directly. What does the Quran say about respect for authority? Huh? What does the Quran say about respect for authority? I know the Bible says, give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar. Good? So when we, you know, this whole democratic thing, I think the blueprint for democracy and good living and so on is in all of these religious books that everybody grabbing onto and claiming that them a Christian and them a Muslim and them a Hindu and them a Rastafarian and them a everything. They are everything except loving. And the good book says, well, God is love. And so if you ain't got no love, then you're not of God. preaching or a teaching this morning. You know, we're talking about democracy, you know. Because democracy, if you go to the dictionary definition, you know, people will say there's connotative and there's denotative meaning. You have to figure out what connotative and what denotative means. Right? Connotes and denotes. And so you run to the dictionary like my Dunsin friend from Annandale that foul to define apartheid. So you're going to run to the dictionary also to define. You're going to run to the dictionary also to define democracy. They're coming out. Dexter Luther. I was wondering since I saw the name yesterday. This is a make-up name because they can't even spell Luther correctly, you know. But anyhow. Right? I was wondering, but I know where this individual stands now. Right? You run to the dictionary and you see democracy is a form of government where majority rules or something to that extent. Democracy is governance or government by the people for the people. Is your government for you? By the people, for the people. Does this government appear to be a government for the people? Or is it for some of the people? Right? The international agencies released a statement last evening on today, International Day of Democracy. And one of the things it said is, democracy is not only about free and fair and credible elections, but it is also about inclusive governance. What do these things mean to you? What do these things mean to those who claim that they're democratic leaders? The PPP doesn't like us to say that this is an apartheid state and they are a dictatorial bunch of crooks. But aren't they a dictatorial bunch of crooks? We were elected democratically by a free, fair, and corrupted election. We know that. Don't let us argue that. And so once we were elected through a free, fair, and corrupted election, we represent the will of the people. And so as representatives of the will of the people, we can do as we like. Not what the people want. We represent the will of the people, but we still can do as we like. Is it the will of the Guyanese people that national and natural resources be stolen by a select few for their own enrichment and the enrichment of their friends, families, and favorites? Or would it be the will of the Guyanese people for that wealth to be distributed evenly and fairly across the regions of this country, and so everybody can live happily ever after? Is it? What's the will of the people? What's the will of the people? So does this apartheid government represent the will of the people, or it represents the covetousness, the greed, the avarice of a select few? But they are democratic, at least so they claim. On the international scene, you will see that Guyana has a democratic government. But according to the international agency's release, and my learning, and my little common sense, democracy can't be just about how you get into office. It has to be about your practices. What are your practices while you're in office? Does a democratic state allow, or a democratic government allow a police force to trample upon the rights of citizens, to be one of the most corrupt public institutions of the state, and support its existence? Is that the will of the people? Is the will of the people to punish those who stand up to defend their rights, their right to free expression, their right to association, their right to associate by way of their workers' representatives, the union, their right to associate by way of their political representatives, the political parties, their right to association by way of religion? Is it the will of the people that their fellow beings should be punished because they exercise these rights? Democracy is government by the people, or governance by the people for the people. And the leaders who represent the people should represent the will of the people. So why is it when public servants choose to associate with the Guyana Public Service Union, they get demonized by the government which is supposed to represent their will? Why is it when workers of the public service choose to come out and say, we deserve better pay and conditions of work, and we are going to withhold our services until you can come to the table and let's talk about moving forward, they get penalized and subjugated and discriminated against and victimized? Is that a government that represents the will of the people? Do you believe it is the will of the public servants? Careful.
Low battery.
Do you believe it is the will of the public servants that their colleagues and fellow citizens be victimized for wanting better? So those of you who come and say the PPP is the best government for this country, they're democratic and they were democratically elected, let's analyze this whole concept of democracy and the will of the people, because that is what a democratic government is supposed to represent. Is it the will of the people for hundreds of billions of their financial resources to be poured into a black hole called Gaisuko, where the friends and cronies of the crookish cabal are fattening themselves at the top there? Is it the will of the people that their financial resources be poured into that black hole? While education suffers, while healthcare suffers, while public servants suffer? Is that a will? I was passing through the city, Georgetown as usual, the other day. And I get these wild, if I can call it that, ideas sometimes. And I'm driving along Lamar Street. I don't know how many of you have been along Lamar Street recently. And I recognize that what this cabal started as the creation of a recreational space on the embankment at Lamar, between Camp and the Parade Street. They did this outdoor space there with lights and plants and benches and so on. Let's say an outdoor park. Right? They did it quickly, it was done. Maybe they love it so much that I see they're now doing a section from Albert Street, I think, all the way to Lamar Street. Not Lamar, Vlissingen Road, yes. All the way to Vlissingen Road. Now, is it the will of the people that their financial resources be used for these aesthetic projects in the capital city when they are miles upon miles of bad, impassable community roads? Is it the will of the people that the priority should be these aesthetic projects, or the priorities should be proper community internal roads so that residents can commute in comfort and grow their community economies? What would residents prefer? Huh? What would citizens prefer? Excuse me. But we're talking about democracy. Remember, today is International Democracy Day. Are these crooks who sit at the top there, do they ever come to the people and ask, what would you like? We have ideas for X, we have ideas for Y, we have ideas for Z. What are your ideas? What do you believe our priorities should be? That's how democracy is supposed to operate, because it is governance by the people for the people. The international agencies talk about inclusivity. Inclusive governance, which is a critical part of democracy, means that the representatives of minorities, because if you're saying the majority rules, then representatives of minorities must be allowed an input into decisions which will affect their lives. But look at the National Assembly. That institution that has been created so that minorities can have dialogue and input into what the majority may eventually decide. Systems are in place so that the minorities can see how the national finances are being spent. It's called the Public Accounts Committee. This crookish government went into the parliament, changed the rules governing the operation of the Public Accounts Committee. And since then, they have been humbugging, preventing the Public Accounts Committee from doing its work, from monitoring, from examining how the public's purse is being spent. The Procurement Commission allows for oversight into how contracts are awarded, how acquisitions are made. It is there to ensure fairness and equity and equality and justice and all of that. Is the Public Procurement Commission functioning? Commissions, all of these commissions they're supposed to have representatives of minorities in them. Do they have those representatives? As a matter of fact, have these commissions been activated? So, is there inclusive governance in this country under this quote-unquote democratically elected crookish government? I'm just asking these questions because I want us to interrogate really and truly this so-called democracy that we live in. But when you look at the fruits of this democracy, all you're seeing is division and vindictiveness and subjugation. In short, you're seeing apartheid. Can you have a democratic apartheid state? I guess Guyana might be one of the first examples of a democratic apartheid state. Perhaps. Or history has recorded others. I don't know. In South Africa, you had one man, one vote, just like Guyana has one man, one vote. But who were the people allowed to vote? Right? So on this International Day of Democracy, I am encouraging us to focus on the behavior of this administration. Is it democratic? Is it inclusive when contracts are awarded according to your ethnicity or according to your geographic location? Do you believe it's democratic or inclusive when it is the Minister of Government who represents public infrastructure has to have a meeting with black contractors? Did you see him have a meeting with Indian contractors? Minister of Works meets with African Guyanese contractors. Did you see the Minister of Works meeting with Indian Guyanese or Indo-Guyanese contractors? Amarindo Guyanese contractors? Chino-Guyanese contractors? How is it a democratic state? How is it inclusive? How is it fair and just and equitable when a particular group has to be met with by themselves to discuss how they can participate in the provision of services to the government, to the democratic government which is supposed to represent the will of the people, of all the people? Where's the democracy there? Shouldn't we all have a level playing field? Why do I have to get special clearance to partake or participate if we're not talking about an apartheid state? In apartheid states, you have to get permission to go into certain sections of the society. In apartheid Guyana, you have to get clearance to go into certain sectors of the society. Black contractors have to have a special meeting with the Minister of Public Works before they can get works. Do you recognize democracy there or apartheid? We're talking, today is the International Day of Democracy. Don't forget that. As citizens, a group of us decided, starting Tuesday last, we are going to go in front of a commission. A commission is an independent body, independent of the government, you know. Right? We are going to go in front of a commission to make certain demands. We want the voters list cleared. Because we know and we believe to our heart that the only way you can start to think about a free, fair, and credible election as if you have a clean voters list. And so citizens decided we are going to go and sound the alarm in front of this commission. What were they met with? Barricades and restrictions. Is that how a democracy operates? Those of you who live in countries that are more democratic than the one that you're all calling democratic, do you encounter such infractions, such infringements, such restrictions of your rights to free expression? If, for example, you decide you want to go in front of the White House or the Senate or wherever to draw attention to your concerns, is that how you're treated? When citizens complain against their servants, because the ministers of government and the fat guy as president are all servants of the people. As I was reminded the other day, the fat guy is the highest paid civil servant, public servant. But he comes before taxpayers and tells them that he is God. Is that how democracy operates? Many of you sit in the US and you sing the praises of the US and so on. Right now, Trump is in hot water, isn't he? A former president. Your former president, now Vice President Barrett Jagdeo, was accused, or is accused, of being involved in corrupt practices. Allegedly so. Is he answerable? Has any investigation been launched by the Guyana Police Force, the law enforcement agency of this country? Huh? Y'all talk to me. Where's the democracy? Where's the inclusive governance? You see, in democratic states, there are certain institutions which defend the people's rights, which protects the democratic principles. The police, for example, law enforcement. Again, law enforcement operates independent of political interference. How many senators and members of Congress have you seen investigated and sent to prison and made to resign and all kinds of things in places like the United States of America because the police dared to investigate them and bring them to justice? How many? Dozens, right? Scores. How many politicians of the governing party in this country have you seen brought to justice? Not so long ago, the police stopped a drunken, disorderly minister who breached the police squad and refused to stop. When eventually he was stopped, drunken, disorderly, we name Minister Ignar. His relatives and friends and neighbors can tell you he's always drunk and disorderly. Was the police allowed to do their work? No. Let that man go. Do not do the breathalyzer test. Let him go. You hear of such interferences in places like the US where democracy is more alive than this corrupted apartheid state. Heads will roll from the top down. All those who interfere will be made to pay for their interference. Right? But folks who, like Luther and them, who sit in these people's country and enjoy the freedoms of a democratic state, they come here and tell us we must accept this nonsense. The courts is another agency that is supposed to defend the rights of citizens in a democratic state. How do the courts function in this country? Minister Jordan had to go to court 100 times. Exaggerating there. Before a judge had the balls, the testicular fortitude to throw the case out. Say this is nonsense you bring before me. You ain't got no local standard. You ain't got no right in this matter. Floops. Right? We hear of citizens languishing in prison for years upon years, 10, 15, 20 years, before they can have their day in court to answer a charge, whether it be for murder, whether it be for something criminal, whatever it is. Their democratic right to life and freedom is being impeded. Right? Because you are entitled to. You have a right to speedy trial. So where is the democracy in this country? The courts which are supposed to be protecting the rights of citizens in a democratic state. Are they functioning? You have the police. Every time they go to court, they're not ready to proceed with the trial because they have no evidence. And the court does what? Allows it. Allows it. Because the court is taking political instruction. That doesn't happen in a democracy. When you come before the court and you're not ready to proceed, on more than one occasion, then it gets thrown. Not in this country. I don't have the judgment before me in the matter of Minister Jordan. But all you're being told is that the case was thrown out. As if it was thrown out on a technicality. Well, I had a conversation with Minister Jordan. And Judge Brassington Reynolds, is that his name? Yeah, Brassington Reynolds. I understand, examine the charges. I would say point by point. And rule on every point. Ruled on every point. And threw them out. According to law. Threw them out according to law. And then dismissed the case. The dismissal was actually asked for by the other party who was charged. So the case was dismissed. In a democracy, the Attorney General who took such a case to court and lost it in such a manner, heads would have rolled. Then they're not coming back for the Attorney General. And there's so many other cases that this Attorney General took before the courts and lost them because they really and truly had no grums in the law. But that Attorney General sits there and continues to persecute people. And we say this is a democratic state where citizens can stand up and demand the removal of an attorney general who is on a political crusade to persecute and victimize citizens of this country. But we call it a democracy. The institutions of state, which are supposed to protect the rights of citizens in a democratic society, they include the media. The media is referred to as the fourth estate. The media is the watchdog of society. The media is supposed to keep politicians and citizens alike in line. What's the role of the media in this democratic society? Y'all talk to me. The state media, National Communications Network, NCN, Guyana Chronicle, they belong to the state. They belong to the citizens of this country. They are funded by the citizens' money, taxpayers' money. Do you see the representatives of the minority in this democratic society, this apartheid state, having access to the state media? Or do you see the state media being used to vilify and victimize the representatives of the minority? Remember, democracy, democratic governance also speaks to inclusivity. So the opposition or the minority representatives go there and they interact with the citizens of this country, and they have discussions on what are the failings of this democratic government, this corrupted democratic government. Do you see any reportage of that interaction and the highlights of the people in the state media? Do you? Talk to me. So what democracy are we talking about in this country on International Day of Democracy? Are the pillars of democratic practices functioning in this society? That is how you examine, you know. That is how you check to see if you have a democratic society. Does government allow free rein? Does government allow the media to do its work? This very group of corrupt people, this cabal, this apartheid government. Remember when they chased Gordon Mosley out of the office of the president? Do you see how the bald-head vice president treats media operatives when they ask certain questions? In a democratic society, the president is answerable to the media. When last have you seen Ali hosting a press conference where the media gets to interrogate? The media get to interrogate the president of this democratic, corrupted apartheid state. Y'all talk to me. What are we talking about? International Democracy Day. Another pillar of democracy in this country is supposed to be the office of the ombudsman. I'm teaching today. I hope you are learning, including all the trenches. I don't want to send you all back to the bottom of the gutter illiterate as you came. Right? The office of the ombudsman, the Integrity Commission, the Ethnic Relations Commission, those are all institutions that are supposed to ensure citizens enjoy their rights in a democratic state. We now have an information czar. Because Guyana got a Freedom of Information Act. Right? Guyana has a Freedom of Information Act, and we got an information czar. But let's talk about the information czar. The information czar is the father of a sitting minister of government. And the information czar in democratic societies are supposed to be independent of the government. And so from the time you have a son who is a minister of government, there's a conflict of interest there. There's a conflict of interest. Somebody is calling from foreign. I don't know what they want. Should I answer them? I hope they don't throw me off the car. Good morning to you. You tune to the BUXTONIAN morning time. The lines are not yet open. How may I help you? Okay, caller. The lines will be open. Listen for when the lines are open. You can call me on WhatsApp and we can have this discussion. Thank you. Yes. So here it is. From the time a relative of yours is a member of the sitting government as a minister, it is a conflict of interest to you to be the information czar. Because that person will have direct contact and influence on you. And so you have a man in the form of Senior Ramson. Well, Junior Ramson is a minister, being information czar in this country. And for all the years that he has been drawing taxpayers' money, he has not produced one bit of indictable information against this government, even though requested by citizens. Citizens are supposed to go to the information czar and say, listen, I am trying to get out of this department of government a list of all the fishermen who received money from the cash grant. A list of all the farmers who received money from the cash grant. And the Ministry of Agriculture is not giving it to me. As the information czar, he has the authority to instruct, to demand from the Ministry of Agriculture that information and make it available to the citizen. I understand there are several requests which went before the information czar. And has he been able to fulfill any of them? No. He sends them around the mulberry bush. And he is drawing taxpayers' money. Is this a democracy? Is this a democracy? The office of the Ombudsman is where you go to complain against public officials when they misbehave. It is alleged that Jack DION was involved in corrupt transactions. Complaints have gone to the office of the Ombudsman. Have you seen any response? I wonder, is there even an ombudsman in this country? Is there even an ombudsman? So when you sit back and you say we have a democratic society, look for these things. What are the elements of a democratic society? Are they existing in this country? Yes, we might find them by paper. We might find them on paper, we might find them by name. Are they functional? Oh yes, we have people appointed. Are those people functional? Oh yes, they're working, but are they doing the will of the people? You see, you have to learn to interrogate these things. As y'all like say, we big but we ain't stupid. But some of us big and stupid. To think that the masses are stupid. Right? Let's talk the thing, man. Integrity Commission. You're supposed to go to be able to go to the Integrity Commission and say, listen, I observe the head of major crimes, Mitchell Caesar, driving an Audi. An Audi, what do I say? The market price for an Audi is 12 million Guyana dollars. I don't know, I'm just assuming the price. It's 12 million Guyana dollars. And from my understanding, this man is drawing $400,000, $500,000 per month. I do not believe that with this current rate of pay, he can afford to buy an Audi. Integrity Commission should launch an investigation to determine whether or not this Audi was gotten through legitimate means. Integrity Commission, I recognize that the crime chief recently acquired 10 acres of land and is constructing a massive multi-story building. But based on what I learned, he is being paid under $500,000 per month. I do not believe that he can afford to do this on his monthly salary. An investigation should be launched to find out, is this really his? Is there a mortgage? Is the mortgage commensurate with his salary? What declarations were made to the bank to get a mortgage of that size? And so, Integrity Commission will be able to determine this man has integrity or not. Or we have a cat watching milk. That's how a democratic society operates. What democracy are we talking about? What democracy are we talking about? Integrity Commission, I understand that the current Minister of Education is allegedly constructing a terrific building in industry. Multi-story. Based on my understanding, and her salary of less than $2 million a month, she can't afford that. Integrity Commission, there's need for an investigation. What are the sources of financing for this multi-story property being constructed in industry allegedly owned by the Minister of Education? That's how a democracy works. Do you see these agencies functioning? Or they're just there on paper? Now we have a lethargic, well, not lethargic. I want to say dunce. But we certainly got a trenchy in the class that is not paying attention. Dexter Leander. Oh, it's Leander. I thought it was Luther. But we got a student who's not paying attention in this class. Dexter is asking the question if there is a Freedom of Information Commissioner. That's the information, sir. Charles Ramson Sr., I just spoke about it. Where were you? You been fiddling with your thumb or what? Talk to me. Police Complaints Authority. In places like the US and so on where democracy is perhaps alive, there's the Internal Affairs Bureau, IAB. When a policeman hears that IAB has sent for his or her file, they know that they're going to be in hot water. Because the evidence has been gathered. It's time to come for your misbehavior. In Guyana, when you hear about the Office of Professional Responsibility of the Guyana Police Force, you hear about police investigating police. Friends, families, and favorites covering up the crimes of their friends, family, and favorites. So when a policeman hears that OPR called for their file, I know police who refuse to go to him meet with the OPR upon request. OPR sent for them, and they say, me ain't got no time with OPR, me ain't got no way. I got me work for do. The OPR ain't got no teeth. Or at least it appears so, because it's what? Friends, families, and favorite running the OPR for friends, family, and favorite who misbehaving in the Guyana Police Force. Office of Professional Responsibility. Police Complaints Authority is one man, Justice Ramlan. I hope I'm right. I don't know he has been changed. He does a good job according to Parslow. I hope I'm misquoting Parslow. He has integrity. But who has to do the investigation? Who investigates the police for the Police Complaints Authority? That's how democratic countries operate. Are these democratic principles? Listen, it's 21 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. The lines are open. I want you to share your ideas of how democratic countries and democratic societies operate. I have laid my thesis bare. We are living in an apartheid state, a dictatorial government that is criminal and corrupt. They got no democracy. People are allowed a little leverage. But is it not democracy? Tell them I say that. My thesis is laid bare. The fat guy never had to defend his thesis to become doctor. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Remember, we're going outside the GCOM today on International Democracy Day. Let's test the democracy in this country. We're going outside of GCOM and we're calling for the list to be cleaned. Let's see if any of these represent.
Conniving morning, when you had your pocket full, in our bills there'll be morning. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning, neighbor. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money neighbor, money neighbor, money, money neighbor, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Kissed by the warm breezes of the Caribbean, this orange beauty has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large modern kitchen, and a living room with an open concept. This lovely home is within walking distance to the sea, where you can take a dip in the salt waters and feel refreshed. Verone's Cheerful Country Manor, located at Tushin, West Coast, Demerara. Bookings are available on Airbnb. Contact Veronica at 516-524-1559 for more details. We hope to see you soon.
Morning. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning, folks. Let me set something clear to you one time, because it might slip this mind. I had some okra earlier. There's no protesting today. We're not protesting today. We're going to protest next week. Today is the day when I take care of all God's little children. Today is the day when I take lunch to the children at a particular school in the village in a particular grade. Right? So y'all allow me. Good? Yes. Thank you to all those people who came out from Tuesday onto yesterday and supported the protest. I think it was satisfying, to say the least. I think we achieved what we set out to achieve, to bring attention to the fact that a voters list must be cleaned before we can get any free, fair, and credible elections. You see, Guyanese have a way of waiting until the last minute to deal with situations which will affect them. And then you realize this, the time is too short to deal with this situation, and that becomes an excuse for not doing anything about it. So we are sounding the bell very early that the list has to be cleaned. And you must understand that. It doesn't need 100 persons, 100,000 persons. As a matter of fact, in any democratic society, one person should be able to highlight that problem and have it looked into. That's when people take their democracy seriously. Yeah, we know we are in a society where we got a criminal, corrupt government operating an apartheid state. And so it may be necessary to have large numbers on the street to drive the point home. But the fact is we were out there for the week, Tuesday to Thursday. On average, we had 20 persons per day, on average. And we were getting our messages sent. I can tell you that. How do you know if your protest is effective? Protest is intended to disrupt the norm. And so that's the first litmus test you can use to know if your protest is having an effect. Is it disrupting the norm? Yes, it is disturbing the norm. Yes, it is disrupting the norm. Because when Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the state had to barricade an entire block around Jico. It immediately disrupted the norm. It disrupted the norm in that the transportation route that people were accustomed to had to be changed. So they had to be rerouting. It disrupted the norm because the freedom with which people were accustomed moving was now being impeded. It disrupted the norm because all of those policemen, I saw some, listen, I don't want to be accused of cyberbullying, but I saw two particular police inspectors out there who suggest to me that police higher ranks are living extremely good lives. In fact, I also saw, I think it was a sergeant on the first day, which suggested that even the subordinate officers, I think they call them, are living extremely good lives. Right? But old people say good living a long life. And so if I can offer a word of advice to those officers, you all need to get to the gym, get to the treadmill. It ain't a good look. With the pressure that is going to be brought down upon you with this protest, some of y'all might go into cardiac arrest. Take care of your health, brothers. Good? That aside, it says the disruption of the norm meant that those officers who were accustomed sitting in their air-conditioned rooms all day, sometimes doing nothing, except talking name, planning how to discriminate some other citizen in the society and so on, had to come out of their comfortable offices. Yesterday we saw a good example of how aggravating a protest can be to some of these ranking officers. One of them actually almost slammed the police barrier. This is a policeman driving a police vehicle, one of these darkly tinted SUV, almost slamming into a police barrier. It resulted in the dislocation of his right side mirror. That's not norm, right? Yesterday we heard, for example, and yesterday, let me tell you, yesterday was the smallest turnout. Yesterday we heard, for example, employees from some of the agencies of the street, of the block, complaining, look how they have us walking from our workplaces to come all the way here to get transportation. Now, am I rejoicing that my fellow citizens have to be affected in this manner? No. But I'm saying that protests are meant to disrupt the norm, and there is evidence that we have been disrupting the norm. And once you disrupt the norm, it draws attention to your issues. Why are you protesting? When people come out of their offices and see the entire block barricaded, that's the first thing they would ask. What's happening? Why this place is barricaded? And then the whisper campaign starts. They got a group of citizens out there campaigning, protesting for the voters list to be cleaned. So, those of you who are out there with me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, well, I didn't offer anybody an explanation for my absence on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? Yesterday was Thursday? Yes, Wednesday. But I left Buxton with the intention of coming to the protest. I had a certain person with me, Rastaman, let me call him that. Well, y'all know Rastaman. So we left Buxton together. And in the vicinity of industry, I had a mishap with my vehicle. Right. And so Rastaman had to go ahead, and so the protest went on. There was no live on Wednesday, but I have photographs of what it looked like on Wednesday. There was no live yesterday, and I have photographs of what it looked like yesterday. A number of persons called me yesterday or messaged me to find out. Mr. Amsterdam, is the protest on? Yes, the protest is on. Are you going live? No, I'm not going live. Yesterday's lack of a live was deliberate. I was doing two protests. I was protesting in front of GCOM for a clean voters list. And at the same time, I was protesting those people who want to sit at home and look at us on Facebook Live as if we were a sideshow. You know, you're looking at a circus. You're looking at a movie. You're having a nice, relaxing afternoon. Look at them in the hot, broiling sun. I chose not to go live yesterday because I was protesting. And you're going to have a lot more of those kinds of protests coming from me. Because at some point in time, people have to determine that, listen, it's important that we get ourselves out there too. Like I said, large numbers really don't matter to me. But large numbers might matter to the apartheid state. I think we're driving home the message. But will it be more effective? What did you know, Andrea Boston? What did you know, Andrea Boston? Do you know it would be more effective if more people are out there saying that this is what we want? Right? That's all I want us to understand. So you can expect that when we're out there, you're not likely going to see any live from us. Maybe we will announce that we are out there, so we might go live briefly to say that we are out there. And then that's it. Stop believing that you alone deserve the comfort of your home. Good? And no, this is not bashing anybody. This is encouraging you. What I intend to discuss this morning, like I've started discussing in here, as part of this morning's program, is who benefits from protest? Who benefits from protest? Who are the beneficiaries when a dozen of us go out there and protest? 2 dozen, 3 dozen, hundreds. Who benefits? Citizens benefit. Your so-called democracy benefits. Right? Because, case in point, I don't care how long I left the classroom. I still have the teacher thing in me, you know. And so I like to teach by examples. When we protested the 4th of July on the Buxton Public Road, when we had that day of protest, the state apparatus came running into Buxton. Right? Came running into Buxton. Following that, you had discussion with small Buxtonian small businesses. You had discussion with Buxtonian small contractors. You had discussion with single parent and so on. And all kinds of meetings started happening in Buxton. Right? All kinds of meetings started happening in Buxton. You had all kinds of meetings happening in Melanie after I did the protests live streaming from Melanie, highlighting the issue there. Who benefited? Up until now, when it's well run from the Ministry of Trade, Tourism and Industry, promised, well, yes, it did happen. Well, technically. They promised a small business meeting for trade with the Small Business Bureau and training and so on for Buxtonians and so on and so forth. After several weeks of us bombarding them here on Kams TV, they turned up at the Friendship Primary School. Wasn't the most effective meeting. Training has been promised. I don't know of any training taking place. Right? They met with small contractors of Buxton. Training has been promised. I don't know if any training has taken place. But what I'm pointing out to you, right, is that protests, our protests, have highlighted the plight of people around the country. Did the government respond? Yes, they responded. Have they responded effectively thus far? No, they haven't responded effectively thus far. But it shows that there's an impact, there's a benefit to be had from protests. You force the government to act. And if you want them to act effectively, then you have to keep up the pressures, BC. Right? So those people who sit in villages like Buxton, and I'm getting petty here. Those people who sit in villages like Buxton and Melanie and Victoria and Anns Grove and Golden Grove and Mokan, villages across this country, all the villages, all the NDCs, residents of all the NDCs, who sit back and say, I ain't got no time with that protest, I ain't got time with them, they got time for waste, this government ain't gonna listen to them. I want you all to reflect and see what changes have come about because of the sacrifices of a few. Right? You know what I'm saying? I want you to sit back, relax, and assess what benefits have I seen from the sacrifices of these people who go out there every day and protest. Or even if not every day, ever so often. What benefits have I seen? Am I receiving benefits? Can I contribute to the whole process? Can I make this protest more effective? Those are the things we must ask ourselves. I know there are at least 25 people who might be singing right now or who have started composing their songs to the bank because they would be singing to the bank eventually. I hope they have a stanza in their songs to acknowledge the efforts of the people who put themselves on the line to protest. Right? Because the reality is everybody benefits. Everybody benefits. It's like in the public service, those who are union members and those who are not union members benefit from an increase in wages and salaries and better conditions of work when the union members and the unionized workers protest, when they go on strike action, when they do sit-outs, sit-ins and so on. Every public servant benefits when the fruits of those protests are reaped. And so I'm explaining this as a way of encouraging you to recognize the importance of protest and to support protest. There's some people who passed us out there in the course of the week, and you could see on the face, as a matter of fact, some of them passed taunting, especially Indo-Guyanese. Right? If you had to do a poll of people who had negatives to say to the protesters out there, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the majority of them were Indo-Guyanese. But there were Afro-Guyanese who also had negatives. You ain't got enough to do. Go look work. You know? Why you want $5,000 and a box of food and stuff like that? Good. It wasn't a Glenlal protest, so nobody was being paid. Okay? So everybody who came out on the protest line was there because of their recognition of the importance of what we were doing. So folks passed and their faces screwed up because what? Their routines had to be adjusted a little. Because they disagree that people were out there calling for a clean voters list? Or because they were simply ignorant of what democracy and a democratic society should look like? We have to teach each other. Each one teach one. We have to teach each other. And that is why we ask every morning when we come on the shows, share the life. There are people who got 500 and 600 and 1,000 friends and so on the Facebook post, on the Facebook, and they could only share life to one person. Right? Are you doing enough? Even if you choose to sit at home and hope that you can look at the sideshow, are you doing enough? Some of you come on the program in the morning. This is a form of protest too, you know. And you don't want to click like. You don't want to click share. You don't want to subscribe. Right? But we are going to continue doing what we're doing. Thank you, Ian Harry, for your recognition of consistency. We are going to continue to do that. I can't afford to pay people to come out to protest. I can't offer them anything except a bottle of water, quite frankly. And so I want to say thank you again to those people who came out. But I want to tell you this morning. If you were on the protest line in the course of this week, send me a WhatsApp. All I want from you today, as your show of support, those who were on the protest line, just those who were on the protest line, send me a WhatsApp. Just say I was there. Once you came out and you were on the protest line, send me a WhatsApp. I was there. Good? Just do that for me. Now, it's Free Talk Friday. Most times I come with a lot of energy, at least outward energy. But sometimes I am very energetic in my mind. And so when I'm having all of that energy in my mind, sometimes I have to try to really constrain it. And so you won't see all of the outward energy. Right? Youthful exuberance. A lot has been happening in this society. I guess Nigerians called the hacks, Shalimar Ali Hack, call the hacks bluff. I'm assuming it is Nigeria who filed that charge or encouraged DION BASCOM to file the charge. Right? And like we all expected, she bit the bait. I saw it as bait. She bit the bait. I want to see what's the next move. I want to see what's the next move. You see, when citizens fail to stand up for democratic principles, they end up with public officials like Shalimar Hack or whatever her name is. You know, I really don't remember that woman's name, honestly. I know she's a hack. Right? You end up with public officials like Hack. You end up with public officials like Mitchell Caesar, Wendell Blanham, Clifton Aiken, and the entire PPP cabal, the corrupted government. You end up with public officials like them because you fail to stand up and defend your democracy and defend your rights as citizens in a democratic country to ultimately determine what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. Every time someone close to the PPP is made to, well, not made to, is threatened with having to face the law, this woman steps in, takes over the matter, and null process it. have it thrown out of the courts? Does it suggest to you that she's acting independently as she ought to be doing as the Director of Public Prosecutions? It certainly doesn't for me. It says to me that she's taking political instructions. And that is not how democracies are supposed to work. There's supposed to be a clear separation of the state. In that the administrative, in case you don't know, there's the administrative arm, there's the legislative arm, and there's the judicial arm of the state. The administrative are the politicians. The legislative, the legislature, would be the parliamentarians, the lawmakers, and so on. They deal with legislation. The judicial arm, of course, you know, the courts and officers of the court and so on, interpreters of the Constitution and stuff like that. And so there's supposed to be this clear separation of powers. The political administration of the country has no authority really to instruct the judicial administration. The political administration, while they sit in parliament, becomes legislators, so they're part of the legislative arm. And so you need that clear separation of powers if you're going to have a society that operates on law and order. But it is clear that this woman who represents the judicial arm, or I would think so, is taking political instructions. Like the one at GCOM, who occupies a constitutional office provided for in the Constitution and is supposed to be autonomous, free from interference and instructions from the government. But you have all of these people taking political instructions. And so your society is not functioning as it ought to. So here it is. A serving member of the Guyana Police Force has made certain allegations against senior officers of the Guyana Police Force. Now, what happens in a functioning democracy is that one of the agencies of state which has oversight over the police should naturally step up and investigate or cause an investigation to be opened into these allegations. For example, we have, or we're supposed to have, the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission, I would think, has that authority to order an investigation into these allegations. Certainly, right? What did I call it yesterday? Justice Ramlal is the Police Complaints Authority. A complaint can be made to the Police Complaints Authority, and they have the authority to cause an investigation to be opened into these allegations. We have not seen any of that happen. Right? We have not seen any of that happen. Have we? The Police Service Commission is quiet on these allegations. The Police Complaints Authority remains quiet on these allegations. A rank of the police force in the name of Frank or something like that has moved to the courts. He made a complaint to the police against a serving policeman under the Cybercrime Act. DION BASCOM appeared in court, charged under the Cybercrime Act, is now on bail of $300,000. And like every citizen has a right, DION BASCOM filed private criminal charges against Mitchell Caesar. Or is it Blanham? Some officer of the Guyana Police Force. For doing to him the same thing Frank accuses him of doing to him. I hope you all didn't lost me there. And instead of allowing the course of justice, the natural course of justice to have its way, here comes this hack, who I am sure took political instruction to discontinue this matter against the crime chief or whoever BASCOM filed the charges. Claiming that the lawyer argues that it is an abusive process. Let the court determine if there is an abusive process. That's how democracies work. Let the court make that determination. Who are you? The judge, jury, and executioner? But the likes of Hack can continue to behave like that because citizens do not see the value of protest. Citizens do not see the value of going in front of her office in large numbers and saying to her that you are corrupt, you are tainted, you are a political lackey, and you should go home. You should go home. Just like we should be saying to Claudette Singh in large numbers. Claudette Singh, what will your legacy be when you leave GCOM? It's tainted. It's corrupted. You have lost your way. But citizens are not operating as though they know the value of protest. And so these injustices being perpetrated by these tainted officials of state are continuing unabated. How do we get to interrogate the claims that BASCOM made against members of the police force if the agencies that have the responsibility to cause these interrogations to happen are not functioning? And citizens are sitting back and taking it lightly, allowing them to not function. Y'all talk to me. Y'all don't recognize the value of protest. So I'm trying to explain to you what's the value of protest and what is the role of citizens. There are many citizens who tell you on a daily basis, I'm afraid of being dismissed. So I can't come on the protest line and show my face. Listen, look around the world. A whole lot of you. Who is Brian James and who is Brian telling shut up? Be clear, Brian. I want to know if you're talking to me. I like to respond. A whole lot of people are on social media. A whole lot of people look at international news and news in general. You see people go out there on the protest line with their faces covered. Their body structures disguised. You can do that too. Can't you? You can do that too. But most importantly, if citizens agree that we will protest in large numbers, not only for the cause in this instance of cleaning the voters list, but in front of any ministry or any workplace where one person has been dismissed because they protested. We can change that culture. We can get rid of that fear. Because if you come on the protest line, if there are dozens, scores, hundreds of you on the protest line, and then tomorrow we learn that Jennifer Jones, who was on the protest line, was fired when she turns up to work because they saw her on the protest line, then we take the protest in front of Jennifer Jones's workplace. And so employers will understand that we are not going to sit back and allow them to trample upon the rights of citizens to express themselves in a democratic manner. But everybody is sitting back. I'm afraid of being fired. I'm afraid of being associated with protests. I'm afraid that if I'm associated with protests, when I go to the embassies for my visa, I will get turned down. But you're happy to have other people put these very quote-unquote freedoms on the line for your benefit. Is that what we say? Huh? Is that what you're saying? If that is what you're saying, you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. You're concerned about your well-being, but you want to get the benefits that other people are putting their well-being on the line for. You're a hypocrite. So Guyanese have to recognize, the value of their protest, the value of their presence on a protest line. In unity, there is strength. And they can break one person, they can dismiss that one person for protesting because they have come to realize that nobody will stand in support of that one person. Are you following that? I'm hoping this morning I can rearrange your mindsets. Good? I'm hoping to rearrange your mindsets. Why do you think I call these things day of protest? We have to disrupt the norm. The norm is that from 8 to 4 or 8 to 12, everybody who has a job goes to work. They take lunch break from 12 to 1, and they work from 1 to 4 to 4:30. That's the norm. How do you disrupt that norm? You disrupt that norm by saying, hey, today's a day of protest. We're protesting from 1 o'clock or from 12 o'clock all the way. If you're protesting from 12 o'clock, it means you leave your place of work at 12 o'clock and you don't return for the rest of the day. You disrupt the norm. If every employee, it's a statistical, what I would call it, outlier. Let me call it an outlier, because it's not likely to happen. But if the majority of the employees, the majority of staff at a particular ministry, a particular place of work, choose not to return to work for that particular afternoon, it means that you're disrupting the norm. The business of that place of employment will grind to a halt or go slow. Now you tell me, when all of you go back to work the next day, that they will dismiss all of you. And if they try to take one of you to make an example, and all of you stand up and say, well, we will not stand for this, we are going to go on the protest line, and we are going to highlight this injustice, you tell me that the vindictive nature of this government and the operatives in public offices can continue. You tell me that. But everybody is about self. Everybody is about self. How do we change this culture? At some point in time, we have to be selfless. I see somebody writing an epistle there about UC Guyana. They said Sidney King. Well, let me tell you, it's UC Guyana. Perhaps the most selfless human being I have ever come across in my lifetime. I can't hope to be as selfless as you see, Guyana. That I can try to, but I don't think I will ever achieve it. Right? In his days of activism, you see, went on 40 days hunger strike in front of GCOM. Y'all check it. You see, did a hunger strike. One man hunger strike in front of GCOM. Put his life on the line. He was begged by doctors and citizens and all kind of people as the days went by to give up. It's not worth your life. And he insisted and he remained there until, if I remember clearly, they agreed to address the matter of the voters list. One man. That one man took several politicians to court from the PPP government for misbehavior before the court, before the ombudsman, and so on. Selflessness. That is what this society calls for. But no, everybody wants to be a spectator. And when the benefit comes, everybody runs to benefit from it. And Tony B, I think, said, nobody wants to plant the corn, but everybody wants to raid the barn. Who you going to blame it on when it's the next man you depend upon? Let us put our shoulders to the wheel. Let us recognize the value of protest in this society and every society. Does it not strike you strange and pompous for the DPP to have the temerity to take yet another charge filed by a private citizen and throw it through the doors? When the CCJ addressed that issue and said that somebody needs to take a look at the powers given to this hack, because it can't be natural, it can't be right, it can't be fair for one individual to have that amount of power to determine who gets charged and who doesn't get charged, and who have their day in court and who doesn't have their day in court. And she has shown total disregard for that recommendation from the DPP. Because since that ruling or that observation by the DPP, I think at least 2 charges were taken over and thrown out by this hack. In other words, I don't care what the hell the DPP says. I don't care what the hell the citizens say. I will take my instructions from my political bosses. And so the citizens have to show her that at the end of the day, it is they who matter. But where are we? Where are we this Good Friday morning? We are taking comfort, or we want to be comforted by reading that DION BASCOM, who made these allegations, was interviewed by foreign investigators. Do we pay taxes to foreign countries? Do we vote for foreign office holders to run our country? Are we paying employees in foreign offices to operate our state agencies? What nonsense is this? What are we living? But we are comfortable. Yeah, the US got them bad. The FBI come and the FBI investigating, and BASCOM talk to the FBI or Scotland Yard or whoever. Is that not a dependency syndrome? We only believe that foreigners, or we believe only foreigners can fix our situation while we sit by and take a look at the sideshow? We are mere spectators? It can't be right. It will never be right. It won't sit right with me. Is it sitting right with you? Is it sitting right with you that there are laws which are supposed to govern the behavior of people, and those laws, when you look at how they're applied, are only applied to the ordinary citizens of this country? And people in political offices and who have connections to politicians can do as they like, totally disregard these laws? If we are comfortable with that, we are setting ourselves up for some serious lashes. A drunken, disorderly minister can drive down the road and kill your child. Ask Freddie Kissoon about the son of Ramata who destroyed, quote unquote, the life of his nephew. Ask Freddie Kissoon, the same Freddie Kissoon that is singing the praises of this cabal. Ask him. Up to this day, as far as I know, they did not receive a cent in compensation. As a matter of fact, not even a visit to say I'm sorry. I like to say they will come for your children. I know they've already started coming for them. So, what you think you're taking comfort in is actually exposing you to greater dangers down the line. You have to do something about that. I am willing, I'm ready, I'm able, I got the energy. What are you willing to do? It's 11 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. It's Free Talk Friday. Yeah, I got enough minutes to talk. The lines are open. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Some of y'all, when you reap the benefits of protest, other people's sacrifices, you don't even sit and reflect and say, hey, this is only happening in the community because these people are protesting. I wonder where they get their funding from for protest. The next time they're going to drop them a case of water. But water alone can't carry on protest. They use markers. They use a lot of markers. They use paint. They use cardboard. I'm sure they could use some cloth, brown cotton especially, to make banners. Hey, those people who come there to protest have to travel from point A to point B. I wonder where they're getting transportation money from. Let's surprise some of them. Let me go there and just pay the transportation to go back home. Do you ever think about these ways of supporting protest? Note, I'm not saying everybody should do that. It's better if your bodies are on the protest line, quite frankly. Because if everybody think they can make a financial contribution and it is going to all be well and good, and somebody else might make a bigger financial contribution for the protesters not to protest. Call A Live, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good morning to all my black brothers and sisters, also coalition leaders and members. Let me just say a minute of Freddie Kissoon. Freddie Kissoon is working hard to be a PPP minister or be in parliament, because what I could gather from him, that if Polori Joe could leave PNC and make it as a black man in PPP minister office, what about him? Let me move on. The FBI went to Guyana to take care of the interest for them country and the country business, nothing else. Not to assist Guyanese in no matter. Number two. Number three, I am speaking to all them good police this morning in Guyana, all them good police in Guyana. All of them, even to this young man will get himself in trouble. They had a chance to blow the whistle when Mr. David Granger was in office. None of them did not do nothing. That means they protect the PVP from not blowing the whistle. Now, this young man, he too had a chance to blow the whistle when David Granger was in office, and he refused not to blow the whistle. So I want to encourage all good police. Do not blow the whistle when you're still collecting Jack Deal paychecks. What I could advise you, if you want to blow the whistle, resign. Let 2 months pass first. Make sure your money come through every month because your family take care of. Apply for your gun license, receive that gun license, then go and talk to a lawyer if you want to blow the whistle. You see, this young man did it wrong. What he did is wrong. We must start from the beginning, not to the middle or end. It is good for you to blow the whistle, but you put ignorance inside first to blow the whistle. Now, how can you blow the whistle and still working as a police? They will squeeze you. And I will not surprise that they revoke his bail, charge him for other charge, and send him to prison and pay imprisonment to kill him. That is the next thing. It's left for Jack Doe. They are a killing regime, and they will kill that boy. He did something wrong. He should wait. He should resign first. Thank God that one of the friends or whoever called him and said, look, they're out to kill you, and then they will say the kind of joke thing. You should put ignorance aside and take care of that first. Resign. Then you blow the whistle. That is my thing for today. To all them good police, don't blow the whistle and then still working. They're going to kill you. Thank you very much.
I have my own disagreements with this caller, but I won't dwell on it. The lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. is the number to call. When to blow the whistle? Is that what we are talking about? You blow the whistle as you see fit. The state has a responsibility to, number one, protect the whistleblower, and number two, investigate the allegations. Because I want to say to the state or to the citizens something is wrong where I work, I must leave my job? Isn't that too great a sacrifice you were asking me for? Call your life, good morning.
Morning Kadaki, and morning Guyana. Great topics that you've brought forward, and the message is for the Guyanese people. When the few protests, the mass amount of people benefit, just like how the African American protested, and Mexicans, Guyanese, Indians, all benefited from what they were able to accomplish. So keep the protests going, and what the information you give, which is don't wait until it's near time when they call election, and that's when you want to protest. You have to start out now informing the people about what's going on and what they should, be protesting for, not up to the time when it's about to happen, and that's when you're going to voice your opinion. Now, the DPP is the PPP. Hack is PPP. So while Guyanese just sit down and just take it, they're simply covering their tracks. Now, how do Guyanese expect to really get anywhere, or the country to actually progress with all that's going on, and they just sit there and think they can do nothing about it? I mean, isn't this what? You have 19 fraud charges against a fraud, dismissed. No reason at all. Deadfall, dismissed. Claudette Singh, dismissed. Narara Singh, dismissed. And now, so there is the pattern right there. But it seems like Guyanese just hell-bent on just getting licks all the time and waiting on the white Jesus to come and help them. My message, get off your behind and go out there. Voice your opinion. And that's my take.
Thank you for your call. I was just advised we will not be accepting donated drinking water. That's my responsibility. I will get water for the protesters when we go there. Call your live, good morning.
Well, good morning to one and all. Brother Kadaki, I have an opinion. I understand that that a whistleblower is like a partner with someone who works with the state, or who works with an administration in regards to the skinny things of that, as we like to see, right? Exposing corruption and so on. So with that.
We lost the other caller. Caller, your live, good morning.
Hello, good morning. I am listening to your show. It's very interesting. And one thing I would... Hello, good morning.
Okay, caller, you need to turn on the device you're listening to.
I would like to know, how do we get the people interested to come out? I would like to know, how do we get the people interested to come out?
Caller, kindly turn on your device.
Oh boy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I heard your question. How do we get the people to come out? What's your size? What's the size of your family, ma'am?
Okay. Yes, I would like to know, how do we get the people interested enough to get them out to protest? Because protesting is numbers. Numbers is power. How do we do that?
Okay. I've been trying to do that. I've been explaining the importance. For example, I've been explaining the benefits of protest, why you need to protest and so on. Right?
Yeah.
Good. Now, you said you've been listening. Did I teach you anything? Did you learn anything? Did I cause a spark in your mind?
Yes, you
Good.
did.
Now, can you take that same information? Are you willing to take that same information and share it with somebody else who something might spark in their mind?
Yeah, I have shared it.
Good.
I have shared it with people I know in the States, people in Guyana. I am sharing it. But I still don't, I'm still not satisfied with the outcome of protests. Just a few bold and brave people come out.
Caller,
What?
I believe in baby steps. I'm a remedial teacher, and so I understand baby steps, right? Now, the first step is to try to educate people as we are trying to do and we've been doing. The second step, like we've been sharing this information, you've been sharing the program, let's say you share it live and so on. The third step, you can engage some of those folks in a conversation, a one-on-one conversation. Then you perhaps can move to a group conversation. Good? And then I ask you just now, what's the size of your family?
Say again? I didn't get that.
What's your family size?
Oh, very, very few. Very, very few. But I have a few friends over here.
Good. So
Right
can
now I'm in Guyana.
can you, for example, say let's organize an evening line at my place. We're gonna make some Kool-Aid, and all of these numbers that we bring together, we're going to sit and discuss the situation and why it is important to support protest and agree that if not all of us, some of us will go out on a particular day to support the protest out there. That's how we grow numbers.
Okay, I agree, baby steps. But the other thing is, you mentioned about a protest at GCOM. What time will it be in action?
Good. We are not protesting today. It's likely that we're going to return to GCOM on Tuesday, because the commission meets on Tuesdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so on Tuesday, we are going to go in front of GCOM at 3 o'clock.
On Tuesday?
Yes, 3 o'clock Tuesday. So that's the next protest date. 3 o'clock on Tuesday, we are going to go in front of GCOM.
Okay. Okay, I'll be there.
Good. You have my number. You can call it at any time, WhatsApp, and if you need any guidance or assistance.
Oh, you're on WhatsApp?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then, thank you. I don't want to keep you because I know there are a lot of people who would like to have a conversation too.
Thank you for calling in.
You're welcome.
And do share the
Bye-bye.
program and the information. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yes. Where was I? Or I was right here. You people were calling. The lines remain open. 622-5933 is the number to call. 622-5933 is the number to call. Six two two 5933 is the number to call. Voice note.
Good morning, Kadaki and listeners. The next PNC App New AFC WPA rally must be in front
What am there?
of GCOM, the rally. There
Call
must
all the
have
line.
people in front of GCOM from the first working day next week and must continue every day.
Let me say, listen, sometimes I can be abrasive, you know. I can be very abrasive, and sometimes I am deliberately abrasive. Here is the scholar recommending what should be done. Right? Here is the scholar recommending what should be done. Every single day from next week, there must be a rally in front of GCOM. But we'll be rallying in front of GCOM from Tuesday last. Caller, did you make your presence felt? Have you influenced anyone to join the protest? So here it is, you're demanding, you're instructing, you're providing guidance perhaps of what needs to be done. But what are you doing? Call A Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry about not being able to come out yesterday, but yesterday...
Rhonda, no need to be sorry. Let's deal with this morning issue.
No, I just think... Anyway, now they were talking about the policeman. I believe if charges against the person who the policeman filed charges against to be dismissed without this charge even going to court and so on, I believe that the charges of cyberbullying that has been alleged against BASCOM, that also must be out of the court. And when you come to talk about protests, lots of people always talking about protests and they don't go. And there are a faithful few. Myself, Emily Durant, I saw man, I think I heard him on the program.
Caller.
We are always out there. Yes or no?
Caller, please do not be calling protesters' name on this program.
Okay, sorry, all right. Yeah. Well, we know the faithful few. On Wednesday when I was there was someone who was willing to join the protest. And I went to the person and I told them, but I will talk to you, that can't be spoken on this line. Anyway, who was there and was risking everything that individual would ever have. And I thought it right to say what I had to say. Now, in the line of protest is not a fun thing. When you go out to protest, you go to protest for things that are affecting you, that ails you, and it ails the entire population. And if people are there, they should come out and lend support. You talk about people coming out and protesting for half day. If was happening AFC, people would have protested the whole month. They didn't care. But now with this type of installed regime that looks for blood and they attack the jugular vein, many persons wouldn't come out to protest. But when the prize has been achieved by the few faithful persons, everybody will enjoy. So I don't know if we could get more people to join us on issues that are affecting the entire population. I hope we could have more people. And with the police decide to come out when he realized, according to the man, pressure bus spike. Because all the time, he didn't see it fit. And the caller said that he should have come out before. Fagundes was not being murdered in the Granger era. And at sometimes, you may be doing that thing, bucket to go well, one day bottom must live. And the Fagundes story made the police run to put out we put out. All the time it didn't affect him, but that hurt him. That's why he came out. And how long your body does not meet to breaking point. Take for instance, a person might have cancer and going up and down all the time. And bow, when the drop down there, it's dead. Because the cancer has taken over everything. And how long your body or your mind is say enough is enough, you will never ever spill the beans. So that's it. And I hope that the police life could be spared. And with a lawyer like Nigel Lewis, I know that Nigel Lewis is going more than above himself to preserve the life of that police so that we can hear more and we can know most of the things that goes on in the police force. I could remember when I went and I made reports to the police. They did nothing. They did nothing. I went to the higher authority level. Nothing was being done. That's the nature of Guyana police. And when you think you have had enough and you decide to let the lion loose, then everybody does jump. That is my outpouring on Tuesday. once everything goes okay, I have to go back to court on Monday. I will be there Tuesday, providing a fine passage. And I will be walking with water because I don't want to be Minister Jordan. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with that lady who said her family is few. Because I got the opportunity to perhaps explain how things can be done. We have from now until Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning to organize ourselves in our communities and in our homes and in our whatever situation, workplaces and so on, to bring out groups of people to join the protest on Tuesday. We can do that. I saw someone recommending buses. I have said on this program, and I will continue to say on this program, if you live in an area and you know that you can organize a busload or 2 or 3 or 4 of persons to come to the protest and you need assistance to pay for those buses, contact me. So if you're in Agricola, for example, and you want a bus to bring people out to the protest, contact me, Mr. Amsterdam. Listen, I got 40 people who want to come to the protest. Can you arrange transportation for us? The onus is on me. I'm organizing these protests. And I will talk with you and we will make it happen. So don't think the onus is on you to pay for minibus to bring people. If you can afford it, fine. If you can't, but you can organize the people to come. We can assist. I can assist you to get them there. Call A Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning to that. I am so annoyed with the situation with Mr. Granger giving this woman senior counsel. And there is persons like Nigel Hughes, right, who's working behind the scenes so hard for black people. I know if there was a chance for him to take it back, he would have. This woman, everything comes up against the government, she just continue it. She throw it out, right? There are persons who are like birds of one feather. And I think the Chief Justice, Gladys Singh, and this woman, they are all birds of one feather. That's my contribution this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. I'm sure there's some voice notes to be played. Let me hear this one. Okay. Because that one is not for your ears. Woo! Which one am I to play? I don't see any other. Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. This is what I had for breakfast this morning. Y'all look. Let me take this call. I'll come back to that. Caller, good morning. You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller. You're live.
This morning you asked about what's being learned and if the message is reaching us as far as protest and what I guess the fight is all about. And I have to say that for the last weeks, I've been contemplating what you've been saying and Dr. Hinds, and I come to this conclusion because I am always upfront about not being in Guyana. I live in a country where my rights are protected, and if I decide that tomorrow, for any reason, I'm going to get up and protest anything about this country that I live in, I will not have to fear for my job. I will not have to fear for my children. I will not have to fear for anything, basically. I would be protected by the state. And my first thoughts were always, why wouldn't people come out? Why wouldn't people come out? Why wouldn't people come out? And a lot has been explained and mulled over as to why people would not come out. And basically, I will almost say defend their right to be, to live, to want change, to improve their standards of living. And I come to the conclusion that when you live in a society such as the one that I live in, we get comfortable in knowing that we are very secure in our rights and that our rights are very much protected. We live closest to democracy, even though it's flawed. We all know Trump is out there, and we had an insurrection on January 6th. But it's flawed. But the essence of democracy is closest, or I'm experiencing what's closest to ideal democracy. But I have to say this. From my interest in Guyana politics started some few years ago, I've heard about how many public servants lost their job, about 3,000 since this new administration came in. I've listened about the unemployment rate, which I'm not so sure what it is now. So if you have 3,000 people that don't have a job that they have to worry about being fired from, you have a high unemployment rate. People are just not employed and just not getting employed. You have a lot of young people graduating from universities, getting out of high schools that have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. You have young people that's trying to start businesses that has no financial support from the government. Where are these people that want the changes in their lives? Why aren't they out there? Like I said, nobody is telling anyone to do anything illegal. It is a constitutional right to voice your discontent with your government and the policies or lack of policies. So the excuse that we are afraid for our job is only a small number of people. I'm sorry, but that is just the reality. And as Mr. Kadaki rightly said, you can disguise your face. I am not so sure what the culture is, what is going on, but I think and even here, we're in a society where voyeurism is the norm, is the thing. We sit down, the kids play games about cooking, they play games about sweeping, cleaning, putting on makeup, but will any one of them pick up a knife and a carrot and decide to make some soup? It's all about voyeurism, viewing. And rightly so, it's been said this morning that the benefits from the few that go out there and stand up and put their lives, their career, their businesses on the line, everybody benefits. And a typical example of that is here in the United States, where during the civil rights time, Black people, African Americans, were fighting for their right to be just considered human. But who benefited the most? White women benefited the most. Not that Blacks or African Americans did not. But when the laws were changed and rules and everything were enacted, white people, white women actually were the ones that benefited the most. So my Indian brothers and sisters, when things go good for one section of the country, it goes good for all sections of the country. This is not a race demonstration. This is a demonstration or a protest of good governance, of doing what's best for everyone. You want the truth about what goes on in your elections. You said you're fighting for the truth of what's right, what's wrong. There should be no question, seeing that there was such a mess 2 years ago. The next election in 2025, there should not be the same things recurring. There shouldn't be talk about dead voting anymore and clean voters lists. Why would you go, they say only a fool does the same thing over and over again and expect a different results? Why would you want to go into elections again with the same issues that you had in the last? And I am sorry, but there is plain and blatant evidence that things went wrong on both sides, and mostly on the side of the PPP. It's just a fact. There's evidence, concrete evidence. You can't hide from it. There's video evidence. So I don't understand the fight, or the lack of fight, not to enact changes, not to see that changes be made. A few weeks ago, I talked about protesting in front of the police station. I talk about protesting in front of the embassies. I talk about protesting in front of GCOM, but it seems like it's only at a moment when things are too far gone that people are talking out there talking about Mr. BASCOM. If y'all had went out there and stood behind that man and said, we want to get to the bottom of the truth, guess what? Somebody would have had to stop and listen, because they would be like, we can't touch him in certain ways because these people are on our cases. But again, I'm on my phone, I'm on my TV, and I'm watching to see what happened next. Today is the people that's out there. Tomorrow it will be your turn, and some member of your family's turn. Anyway, if you cannot support physically, support financially. Support financially. Nobody has to know who's supporting the cause, your name or anything, if you cannot physically be there, because a lot of us in the diaspora, we cannot be there. And like I said, I know in the United States and most of Europe and Canada, we are highly secure in our protections, in sitting in our homes, and yes, we can call and text and have an opinion. And I think because of that, that's why we want this so much for you guys. We want you to experience the same comforts in life that we're doing. And not for nothing, but I had so much hope that Guyana would have changed. And I personally did not care who sat in the seat of government. All I wanted was someone who would uplift my people. Because I don't see color when I talk about Guyanese people. Because here, I'm always the pepper and salt for most of where I'm living. So I wanted what was best for my people, for them to be uplifted. The next time I went home, 1994, I remember there was grass going on Regent Street. The gutters were overflowed. The garbage in the streets. The place was a mess compared to when I left as a child. It hurt me. I cried. The next time I went back, I'm not sure, but I know it was after the coalition was in a couple of years into, and it was the best and happiest feeling to see the places. I walked the street. My sister and I walked the streets day and night without an issue, without feeling unsafe. And that made me feel so good and had so much hope for my country of birth, because I don't care where I live. That is my home. And it's sad to know that everybody don't have that feeling, to know that regardless of what you look like and your happenstance of life or circumstances, that you want what's best for your people. I don't care where you originated from. Why is it that you, as a government, do not want what is best for your people? Why aren't you thinking that the right of things is to make policies to uplift your people so that they can be the best in society? I remember hearing stories about when we went to Trinidad and when we went to Barbados, and
in the 70s and 80s and the 90s, and how these people used to put us on a bench and speak to us like we're lower than dirt. Don't you want every single one of your citizens to be able to walk around this world with their head up, held high, and say, this is who we are now? This is where we are now? Any and everybody, regardless of the ethnicity? I just don't get that. Why you will want to keep your people downtrodden and in the gutters rather than uplifting them. And this is to the government I'm speaking, because I know you're here. How do you go to bed at night? How do you look at your children, your families, and don't think about that there's someone out there that don't have a roof and don't have food? How do you hug these people in the Caribbean that used to treat your people like they're the scum of the earth now and embrace them? And don't want your people to uplift and rise above these people and say, look at us now. Maybe that should be the motto. When you're thinking in your head that every citizen in your country should be able to say, look at us now with pride and dignity. Anyway, y'all have a good day.
Thank you, caller. I know a lot of you ask yourselves why I allow this caller the leverage of time. I also do it with Coffee and others because they bring a lot to the discussion. And so I see a particular same person say, lady, you're too long. Sometimes you just have to allow people to have their say because it's a solid contribution. Caller, your live, good morning.
Hello?
Caller, your live, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki. This morning, I would not dictate as to what you guys should do, but I would encourage that you continue the protest. What the government has succeeded to do is to put fear into Guyanese, because if people lose their jobs, they cannot feed their family. And the thing about it, when you go to the private sector, they would look and they all in bed with the government. So persons losing their jobs are being mad for this. But even my relatives, they're kind of scared to go there. But you know what? We have to do what we have to do. And I'm thinking about what it would take to like bring a case to the United Nations against this government. I am sort of doing some research on that because something has to be done. You can't be going after people, having them in a certain way because they talk against you. Where is the democracy? Guyana is a full-blown apartheid, and that is what it is. We have to fight and change things. You have a blessed Friday, and God bless you as always.
Thank you, caller. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, everyone in the diaspora. There's a question. It's a question based upon fundamentals of human existence. At what point does the hierarchy of the Guyana police force within their consciousness, within their conscience, say to themselves that an apartheid state should not be allowed to exist, governing all of Guyana? At what point does the Guyana police force say that as protectors of the law, at what point does the hierarchy of the Guyana police force, the GDF, and parliamentarians say to themselves that 1,480 plus murders attributed to extrajudicial state-sponsored killings has gone too far and can no longer be tolerated? At what point do we say that it's zero tolerance on that? There is zero tolerance on abuse of women. The Guyana police force has held the policy that is zero tolerance on that. Zero tolerance on crime. Zero tolerance on many other things. How come we cannot say that there should be zero tolerance on the way that the Constitution has been ravaged, insulted, disobeyed? At what point does the GDF, at what point do parliamentarians who are party leaders in the PPP and the PNC and the AFC say that this amount of racial influence into the way in which all of Guyana is being governed is enough? When we know that this cannot be the way which we will continue to live. This cannot be the way in which and for which police officers, GDF, school teachers, unions, judges of the judiciary. This cannot be the way which we swore to uphold. This cannot be the way. So then if this is not the way, and we know it isn't, then why do we in our silence condone the continuation of more of this? At what point do we ask ourselves, is this the fulfillment of all our degrees for those of us who have master's degrees, PhDs, those of us who are judges, school teachers, preachers, parents? Is this the Guyana that we will continue to condone? When will we say, as party leader of the PNC, when will we say that this cannot be the way for tomorrow? It's simple. It's simple. When the grass gets too much in your yard, you cut it. When the mosquitoes get overbearing, you get rid of them. When there is a medical problem which is so disruptive to the day-to-day health of the human being, we get rid of it. We solve it. We find a cure. Why is it? What definition would it be for a condition of a people to continue to live in this kind of environment? What does that say about the judges? What does that say about the magistrates? What does that say about parliamentarians on both sides? What does Gail Teixeira say about this? What does Christopher Jones say about this? I call their names because they are the whips of their parties, respectively. At what point do either of these parties say we can go no further with this? I think at that point, we will make a change. Now, with regards to the PNC, David Arthur Granger, Comrade North, at what point do we say we can go no further as we are today? Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your voice note. Caller live, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kanaki. I'm calling in connection with the voters list. So if you get GCOM to do another house-to-house registration and get a new list, how do you plan to include the people in the diaspora? Because they play an important part. They're contributors to both parties and to Guyana. How you plan to include them? Because a lot of people go back to vote election time.
Caller, there are also a contribution to the problem. Would you agree?
Well, that's why the list is bloated.
Exactly.
But
so
I'm asking you how you plan to include them.
Caller, you know, I just use what I call the Hajj, you know. There's a certain time of the year when people go to the Mecca and so on.
Correct.
All right, so
I understand they could go back to, but if their name are not on the list, if you do
okay,
house
let me explain this. Let me explain this.
No, hold on. If you do house registration now,
yes,
and people, let's say Dr. Hinds are not in Guyana, his name would not be on the list.
Yes.
Come election time.
There's a claims and objection period.
But they'd have to be there to get the name on the list.
Just as you would have to be here to vote. And that is the issue.
Correct. But my thing is, people come back to vote election time. No, I'm not arguing with you, but what I'm asking you, how do you plan to include these people? I want you, do they play an important, look, 95% of your listeners are from the diaspora. Do you agree with me?
No, I don't agree.
Okay, well, 50%, well.
There's a large number. I can't tell you if it's 95 or 50.
Correct. But how do you plan to include these people?
There is a mechanism. The mechanism is this. House-to-house registration registers and records those people who are present during the period of house-to-house registration. Okay?
So how you plan to include Rick Fredberg?
Caller, let me finish the man. Y'all notice how I conduct my program? I listen and then I respond. If you interrupt me while I'm responding, then you just corrupt my thoughts.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we have the house-to-house registration. What house-to-house registration actually does, okay, is create a register of registrants. It's not a register of voters, you know. It is a register of registrants. It registers all the people who are present during that particular period. They're recorded as residents.
Correct.
Good. Out of that register of registrants, GCOM extracts those who qualify to vote. Okay? GCOM extracts those who qualify to vote. That is how they create the preliminary voters list. Now, when the preliminary voters list is published, okay, after the publication of the preliminary voters list, you have a period called claims and objections. Now, this is what claims and objections is there for. If you were left off of the list inadvertently because you were out of the country, okay, you claim, you make a claim to get onto the list.
How you make that claim? You have to be there in person?
Of course you have to, yes, you have to be there in person.
Okay, so then you got to travel twice, come and put your name on the list, and then come back election time. That's what you're telling me?
The reality is this. As old people say, we can't get our cake and eat it. If we want a fair and credible election, there's sacrifices which have to be made. We had to decide that we are overseas. We have an interest in seeing the growth and development and respect of a democratic Guyana. And therefore, there are certain sacrifices we will make to participate by voting, or we will contribute to the process by supporting political parties, by supporting movements who are fighting for the democratic state. There are different ways in which we can contribute to this development, right?
Okay, but then somebody's going to say, when, because of the Constitution, the current law, somebody's going to come and say that they're being, the constitutional right was breached. They didn't get to vote, and they're Guyanese.
No,
the current law.
I don't think, I might be wrong, but I do not think you get the right to say that your constitutional right was breached if, number one, you did not present yourself to go onto the voters list. Because you can only vote, being on the voters list is a prerequisite to voting. If you did not make the necessary steps to get onto the list, then you don't have any right to make that claim that you were disenfranchised.
Kanaki, we are talking about a lot of people on both sides of the island.
Brother man, I understand that, but I am saying this. It is the same consideration of how many people we are talking about that has us where we are. The PPP considers, for example, that the majority of the people who are overseas, right, are their supporters. Man, y'all must listen to me, you know. I'm not saying it is so. I'm saying the PPP will argue, or the PPP argues that it is so. And so they will fight to keep them on the list. The coalition is saying, listen, part of the problem is keeping these people on the list. They don't necessarily come to vote. But the PPP uses ways and means of using their information to corrupt the process. Do we rather...
The law said you can't take the people off the list. That's the thing.
The law says, and you know, I think there's a lot of misinterpretation in this thing, and that is why we have to fight it to the wire, you know. Right? The law really says, in my mind and my understanding, is that you can't take the people off the NRR. That is what Roxanne ruled.
Correct.
Right?
Well, everybody's saying it's Roxanne, but it's the law. She ruled
but listen to me again. The law that Roxanne ruled on or interpreted is that you cannot take people off the NRR. But the Constitution gives GCOM the authority to do all that is necessary to give a free, fair, and credible election. And so GCOM can clean the list. Now, when GCOM has cleaned the list, according to their mechanism, and publishes the PLE, citizens now have a right to say, you remove me without cause, unfairly so, or there's a dead man who is on this list and should not be there. That is what claims and objection is for.
All right. So let's say the GCOM reduced the list to 300,000 at person, 300,000 at person, and then you have another 200,000 persons come from Hague and say that, yo, listen, my name has to be on the list. You can go back to 500,000, Kadaki.
And this is the trouble here, right? It will go back to 500,000. But it will be 500,000 persons who have been verified. Wrong or right?
Yeah, correct.
And if we are saying now, include in this process biometrics, it means that you reduce the possibility of fraud taking place despite the fact that your list is 500,000.
Kadaki, you bring back me to 97 when they had the vote ID card. Remember? After the election, that was illegal. Biometrics, somebody gonna say it's illegal again.
So we don't learn from our mistakes.
So what you got?
97, it was the introduction of a voter ID card as against your national ID card.
Right, but if you do biometrics and somebody say the constitutional right was breached and they go to the court again and the court rule election null and void, what will happen?
Then we know that we have to look at the law again. We can't sit and suppose.
Okay, Kadaki, let me not keep you up. Have a good day and thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. You see, if we sit and we suppose all the time, we suppose this and suppose that, then we do nothing, we twiddle our thumbs. Caller, your live, good morning.
Kadaki.
It's past 9, eh?
To that last caller, our people find more complaints than finding solutions. You understand me? They're going to find the money to come home when somebody gets a little party. You hear me?
I'm listening, caller.
Yeah, they're going to find the money to come home when somebody gets a party and show down, right? But they won't find that money to come home and do something in their interest that you're so engulfed in. They will never find it. You know, the other people do it. But our people refuse. All I've been listening to him say is complaints, and he wasn't listening to you. It's simple. You got to be in the country for vote. You got to be in the country to register. You understand? Make the sacrifice. You understand me? They will make sacrifice. A lot of them making sacrifice and run to Dubai. But they will make the sacrifice to come home and vote, you know? That's my take.
Thank you, caller. Simon Blackman said if you don't live in Guyana, you shouldn't vote, period. There are those who will argue that they have an interest in Guyana because they contribute through remittances, etc. And that is my point. People have to decide how you want to contribute to the growth and development of this democracy. Right? It calls for sacrifices. You know what my sacrifice is? What are my sacrifices in the fight for this democracy? Has anybody ever sat down and tried to enumerate that? I don't work at nights anymore. Because if I walk at nights, I have to look over my shoulder too frequent. Every shadow is a bother for me. I'm almost an antisocial being. Those who know. That's a sacrifice, and that's a price I'm prepared to pay. I can't pick up my academic qualifications and say, I'm going to look for a government job. That's not available to me. That's not an option available to me. And in any decent society, I am sure, because I have colleagues who are not half as smart as I am. Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. You have not graduated at the level that I've graduated. who don't even have my GPA. I'm not boasting. I'm just making a case in point. That enjoy government jobs. Some might argue that they're comfortable in those jobs. But I chose to fight for this democracy. And I knew that it's a sacrifice I will have to make. I can't look forward to a government job. At least not under this administration. Right? But if the administration were to change, and the coalition comes into office, and I'm employed in what some people might call a cushy job, they may very well fail to remember the sacrifices I've been making for this democracy. Right? So sometimes, again, it comes down to selfishness. We only see ourselves. Right? While all those who we are fighting for can look forward to a government payday around the between the 15th and the 21st, there are many of us who are fighting this fight, who are making these sacrifices, who don't even know when our next payday will be. But are we complaining? No. Because we recognize that the greater good to society is the democracy that we're fighting for. The fairness. The good governance. So there's a bigger benefit than us getting a salary. Our children may very well come to enjoy those benefits that we cannot now enjoy because we are fighting. And I am prepared to make that sacrifice. How many of you sit and you examine that? I don't come on this program and tell y'all, hey, I'm hungry. Because, hey, I ain't got no payday. I'm hungry. I went to sleep last night hungry. No. I don't come and do that. But how do you know it doesn't happen? Sacrifices. We have to choose our fight. It is either we want a democratic country, we want free, fair, and credible elections, which we know a clean voters list will form the basis for, or we want to live in the US, live in Canada, live in the diaspora, and take part in that election. Because once we insist on being able to take part in that election, by our names remaining on the list, we contribute to the problem, like it or not. Like it or not. Because when my Afro-Guyanese brother is saying, I have a right to be on the list, despite I'm living in the US. Or Indo-Guyanese brother is saying, I have a right to be on the list, despite I'm living in Canada. But both of them know that come elections day, they're not likely to be in the country. It means that they have given some party, either the PPP or the APNU, 2 opportunities for forgery at the election. 2 opportunities for forgery at the election. Because there are 2 names on the list of people who are not likely to come to vote. And somebody might very well impersonate those 2 names and skew the election. Are we considering these things? Have we considered these things? Rhonda, please desist from calling people names. Like do the name calling. Right? He's not a dunce. He's asking questions in the minds of, these questions are in the minds of a whole host of people living in the diaspora. Right? So we don't have to attack the man for asking legitimate questions. But we can interrogate and we can explain. So what do we want? The introduction of the voter ID card, if I remember clearly, in the 97 elections, there was no law really to support the introduction of the voter ID card. What the law at the time said is that you have to have a national ID card. And some people who had a national ID card but did not get a voter ID card said that their rights were contravened because the law says I should have a national ID card, and here it is. But I'm not allowed to vote because they're saying I need a voter ID card, and the law didn't say that I need both. Wonder if you call this person and once again I remove you and your comment. Right? These are things that we have to consider. The onus is on the citizens to demand biometrics, for example. The responsibility for making it happen is on the legislators. They have to do the legislative drafting and so on. Let them do it. They're being paid to do it. That's not we worries. Our worries is what we want. Their worries is how to make us get it because they get any money to do it. Good? Call it live, good morning.
Hello. Hello.
Call it live, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm calling you. I'm calling you to ask you if the leader of the PNC is come out and protest with you guys.
Caller, you don't have to call me to ask me that. Do you? Do you need to call me to know that?
Yes, guys, I just see you and the rest of the people them is out there. You come out too.
Did you see the leader of the PNC?
Yes, guys, I just see you and the rest of the people them is out there. You come out too. Did you see the leader of the PNC?
Thank you, Janice Booker, for pointing out that this is not an APNU WPA PPP PNC fight. This is a fight for the citizens. This is a national issue. And so all of us should be out there fighting. It's a national issue. The caller called me to find out if the leader of the PNC comes out. But yeah, let's look at the live. I tell you, sometimes I can be very abrasive, willfully so. You don't have to call me to ask me who comes out. You have the benefit of the life. And worse yet, the fact that you're asking me who comes out means that you don't come out. Huh? Answer that. Listen, it's time for me to go. Y'all had a lot of my time this morning. It's 60 minutes past 9. I love y'all, you know. Listen, I love my people. I love my country. I like to say it. Some people don't like when I say it. I don't believe Buxtonians love me, but I will put my life down for them. Right? I will do anything for Buxton. Like I will do anything for a better Guyana. Good? That is the love I have. Let me see if there is any comment I want to respond to before I leave. Oh, while I am doing that, look on the screen. Some of you can read it for yourself. It's not I say it. Yes, let me apologize to Rhonda. I see she is saying she only made one comment and she heard when I spoke about it. But what happens on the software that I'm using, comments usually show up 2 and 3 times. I don't know why. Right? So I thought she had continued to repeat the comment. Sorry, Rhonda. What shall I... Oh, yeah. Somebody's asking me to share this thing. Now, let me tell you what's happening there. What you're seeing on your screen is a little bit of... I don't know what amount it is because of how the photo was taken, probably. But that is some boiled black-eyed peas with a sachet of ketchup. That is what was given to a child, according to the post of a popular primary school on Kams Street for breakfast. My daughter, who attends a popular primary school in Kams Street, is receiving breakfast from the government. Today she brought it home to show me. I am appalled. A cup of boiled black-eyed peas and a small pack of ketchup. I immediately told her to stop collecting anymore. See photos. Now, let me address this before I leave. I take it kind of slow. There are a lot of people who sing the praises of this government that they're doing so well. In a time when there is a whole lot of money, financial resources, more than the coalition had, I want to keep pointing that out. This is the quality of breakfast that they are giving to children for the school's breakfast program. Right? Now, when Granger was in office, with less financial resources, there was a school breakfast program. And I can tell you that there were nutritionists who were involved in the planning of the meals. And so on any given day, what the children receive for breakfast would have been considered a balanced diet, a balanced meal. Right? I know for a fact there were sometimes when they would have had tuna sandwich with milk or whatever else. Now, can you imagine your child going to school to receive a cup with some boiled black-eyed peas and a little pack of ketchup? How much thought went into the creation of that meal? This is the kind of impasse why citizens must stand up against their government and demand better. Because this is impasse. How many of you will boil black eye and give it to your child as a breakfast? I don't know for you when I come and argue, yeah, it's nutritious, it's got what, proteins? How much thought went into the preparation of this breakfast? Hold the government accountable. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. It's Friday, so I left you out with some music. I didn't even know what for play. Long I play no music though. Let me get some Barris. I like Barris, man. No Goodbye. That's my favorite Barris tune for these days. Y'all like it too? No Goodbye. It suits the cause because even when I leave here, I haven't left you. I've left the program, but I'm thinking about you as my people, and I'm thinking about this nation. And how we can bet it. So enjoy the reggae music as we leave. Enjoy your weekend. You can come down to Twilight and have some fun time. It's cricket season and so on. I don't think there will be any oldies tomorrow evening because there is a function at Club Twilight. So don't expect oldies. If you see me come on, then count your lucky stars.
Nature is
Every time I think of saying goodbye, everything inside me says it's a lie. So I can't. been with me right through the rough, and you never said I had enough. So I can't, no I can't, no I can't. Yeah, I'd like to repay you for damages done. I know I won't be able to repair it all, 'cause I lost count. And with all the time you've been hurting, you're still so fine, and it's blowing my mind. I know I should pack and walk away and leave you nothing to remind, but I can't. Oh, I can't. No, I can't. No, honey, no. Just wish I was man enough to come out and say it to you. You know? Like to repay you for damages done. I know I won't be able to repair it all, 'cause I lost count. And with all the time I see you hurting, you're still so fine, and it's blowing my mind. I should pack my things and walk away and leave you nothing to remind, but I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. Every time I think of saying goodbye, everything inside me says it's a lie. So I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. Hey, baby, 'cause you've been with me right through the rough, and you never said I had enough. So I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. Yeah, babe. I try, but I can't. Try no matter how hard I try. I can't. I know I was never. I could leave you, baby, when you're so fine. Everything I do. Na 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 na.